Well, I'm super excited to have my next guest on the show. She is a virtuoso. She's a singer songwriter. She's an entrepreneur. She's a busy mom. And she's also the lead hot up and coming new rock and roll band out of Detroit, Michigan. Welcome to the show, Brittany Madden.
Thank you. Thank you, Uncle Tom.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, Uncle Tom's cabin right here. As you can see, I'll turn over the fire.
I love it.
Your cabin is in the is the one over there by the brightly lit one. So you guys can
It's
stay up.
awesome.
Um, well, you guys are an original rock and roll band as opposed to covers.
Yes.
And let me run down the personnel list. So Brittany is on lead vocals,
Yes.
and you're also probably the major songwriter. You've got Ron Carnell on drums and doing backup vocals. You've got Joe Mitchell on bass and doing some backup vocals, and he's a fairly new member to the band, right?
Yes, he is. Happy to have him.
And Scott the Ripper Palmer on guitar and backup vocals, and then Andrew DeHerder. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Uh, Andrew DeHerder is also on guitars and effects. And now I know you are also a keyboard player, right?
I am. I am. I know Drew keeps asking me to bring back the piano, so we're we're in talks of that.
Well, we're going to have links at the bottom of the screen and in the show notes to your website. And maybe if the powers that be there can send us a little MP3, maybe a 60-second version of a song that we can just sample. Uh,
Yeah,
there'll
absolutely.
be some pictures here and your logo and all that kind of great stuff. Um, how'd you get started as a musician?
Good question. So my uncle, you, you've always sang, and I believe you were in bands and also a DJ. And my father was in a band. I remember growing up in Farmington Hills, watching him in the basement, singing with his buddies and some shows he would play. And so, yeah, it always interested me. So I started
He
taking
still
piano
plays
lessons.
today, right?
He does, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so they get together and have fun. It's a good collaborative effort, and so that's a lot of fun. And I remember I believe it was kindergarten. I had a music teacher, and she played the piano, and there was a talent show, and I sang Annie, the sun will come out tomorrow. And so yeah, that was I still yeah, I still remember that. That was fun. So I always loved singing, and then I started doing songwriting and taking piano lessons at a young age.
Do you ever, or do you think that maybe if you were offered the opportunity, you would want to do it full time?
I mean, I would love to songwrite, that would be amazing. So it's definitely something that I'm open to.
But being on the road in with five stinking men in the back of a
Right, right.
tour bus is not your idea. Um, well,
Never say never, right?
how did the band come to be, and how did you guys decide, what kind of music you wanted to play?
Yeah, so I remember in 2020, I put an ad out, just kind of wanted to collaborate with some new musicians, and I met Scott first. And, he had some material and I had some melodies. And so we just started writing together. And it was interesting because, during COVID, not, you couldn't get a lot of people wanting to get together, right? It was just an interesting time. So for a little while, we just wrote and he had material and we just started to kind of collaborate. And then a friend of a friend knew Drew, and Drew was looking for somebody. Had a recording, started building a recording studio in Fowlerville, but he wanted to write. He had some ideas, and he wanted to write with folks. So we were writing together. I want to say that brought us to like 2022, and then Ron came about. He actually was in Seattle for years. Was a musician out there, lived out there with his wife, uh, drummer, and he responded to an ad, and he's a funny guy and really good drummer. So we brought him out, and we went ahead and did an audition. So we started writing with him, and then we had a bass player. We did one open show, open mix. It was like a open mic, open mix. That's interesting. Open mic in tap room in Ypsilanti, and we had that. And then we were going to look to book more shows, but unfortunately, he had to leave last year. So, make a long story short, we've been recording about the last year on 6 songs. We picked like 6 songs because we thought, we want to play out, but if no one knows what we sound like, we need to have something.
All,
So,
and again, all original, right?
all original, right? We'll probably throw a few covers that people would know, but yeah, we focus on writing and
If,
collaborating.
if you were to say what other band your band sounds like, who would it be?
Interesting. So
Like the Foo Fighters or
I feel like a little bit it's a cross, a little bit of I feel like a little bit of Foo Fighters, a little bit of Goo Goo Dolls, but then I also hear a little Police influence, Sarah McLachlan. So some of the group, with writing purposes, I know Drew was really into Genesis, and then I mean there's a lot. There's an independent artist, Amber Lynn, that Scott, the indie band. A lot of his influences come from there. And then some of the greats like the Beatles, Zeppelin. So it's a little bit of a mix. Because
who
some
was your,
ballads.
who was your major influences as you became a musician?
Well, the person that really influenced me to play the piano was Billy Joel. I saw him twice. Just loved his melodies and his catchy lyrics and his catchy hooks. I just remember hearing it in the background and at my parents' house. They had always had music on, and so that was always fun to hear, and just kind of inspired me to want to write and sing and play.
Well, you guys, like you were saying, you've been together for about a year. Do you envision the band being more of a gigging live band or more of a recording and songwriting kind of a band? Or
I think a
do you even make those kind of determinations?
Well, we've definitely talked about it as a group. I think a little bit of both. We definitely want to play some key shows, maybe open up for some folks in, the local original bars around town and some key festivals. But we want to continue to write because we do have a lot of ideas. We actually have these 6 songs. It seems like we've been playing them, but no one's heard them. But we've been playing them for like, a couple of years, with some of the band members.
Well,
So
we'll have the links in the show notes and at the bottom of the screen so folks can come and visit you guys and check you out.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
Um, well, we were talking before the show a little bit about AI.
Right.
AI, as you may or may not know, is really kind of changing the author business on this end. But is AI something that you think about as a musician? Does it have a place in the studio? How would what do you think about somebody going to AI and saying, "Here's an idea, give me some song lyrics and give me a song"?
I know that it is. It's very interesting. It seems like it's everywhere now. We haven't really done it, as far as recording goes, but I do know some folks that have, they've used ChatGPT, to kind of come up with some ideas of how a song should go, or maybe some verses. Um, it's interesting because you just add, I want to write a song about X, and it just like tells you everything, right? I haven't really explored that yet, but I'm sure, it's probably going to be a lot more common.
Do you think users even or listeners care at all?
I don't know, honestly. I feel like it's still up and coming, so people are still kind of navigating it
I
per
mean, but if
se.
I'm listening to something, I don't care if as long as I think they should disclose it. I think
Yeah.
authors should disclose it.
Hmm.
Really, in the final analysis, I just want you to throw down.
Right, right, right. There
Uh,
you go. Yeah.
um, well, as a vocalist for a long time and such, what do you do to keep your voice in tip-top shape?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, after, I was in cover bands after Michigan State, and you'd sing like 3 hours, and there were a couple times, still kind of learning. I remember my voice got scratchy and, kind of like hoarse and lost it. And I was like, oh, that's not good, right? So I actually, did get like voice lessons a few times, taking voice lessons to learn how to sing in the right way and the breathing technique. And then definitely, you don't breathe from up here, you breathe down in your diaphragm, making sure that your lungs are full and when you're belting out, and on how to do that. And then another great thing with piano, I would do scales. So I would do, whole scales of, do, re, mi, and, back and forth a few times, and then doing vowels like O's and E's, and, just making sure you're enunciating so you're on in key, and it's more like just just running scales on a bass or
Oh,
guitar,
you
for
mean
sure.
like singing on key with good pronunciation?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
What a concept.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, I know, right? And it just, I've just noticed it, it's like going to the gym. It's like going to the gym for your vocals. I just noticed it's, you're you're more sharp, no pun intended, sharp flat, but you know.
I often wonder, is it harder if a singer sings sharp
Hmm.
or they sing flat, which is easier for them to correct? I was just wondering about that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm definitely not one of those folks that can like go, sing something and be like, "You're singing a C sharp." That is not me.
Have you ever used like those? I see some of those singers, they use in-ear monitors.
I have not, but I would love to. I think that would be amazing.
Interesting. Let me see. The other thing I wanted to let me see your shirt.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
The James
James
Brown
Brown.
shirt, man.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I found this website. I've gotten some like rock and roll shirts, Led Zeppelin, Police, and AC/DC.
Oh,
James Brown.
so you have the new CD coming out.
Yes.
When any idea when that'll happen?
Yeah, that should be like released on Spotify and some other platforms by November. So
Wonderful.
we're just kind of like finishing up. It's a
Just
long process, right? Like you think of ideas and you're halfway through it and you're like, oh, well, let's try this. So but we definitely want to make sure it's how we want it people to hear.
and and do you know what the CD is going to be called yet?
No, we haven't talked. I mean, it's more of like a what are they called? LPs, or because it's only 6 songs, but
Sampler.
sample, yeah, to kind of give you, yeah. We haven't really discussed that part yet, but it might just be called like the title of the band. But
Well, I always ask my guests this same question. Um, if there was one thing you wish people knew about being an independent musician these days, and a
mhm.
pretty young woman and very talented, obviously, what's the hardest thing these days?
I think, I mean, you know, well, like back in the 90s, you didn't really have you didn't have all these platforms to promote, so that's definitely helpful. But it's still getting the right audience and, the right people to follow you and, to find you, right? Because there's so many people trying to get, have their songs looked at or their books looked at or whatever kind of artist you are. So I think it just takes a lot of perseverance with networking and, getting your names out there, promoting. Again, you're always learning, right? You're always a learner. Learning like I learned from you on YouTube, and what you can do to kind of cast a larger net to get people to follow you. So I feel like you just have to be open-minded and always, have your education hat on, that you want to always learn more and have more knowledge.
Yeah. I've always been amazed between us. I've always been amazed that every shithead and his brother thinks that they can do what we do, what you do, what you do. And I'm sure you probably have had that. You're playing a gig and the song ends and you've got some drunk in the front row over
I
here.
can sort
Oh, hey,
of.
let me get up and sing for I can sing,
Right.
you know. So there's that.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
do you ever have is it a challenge fitting um your love of music in with being a busy mom and entrepreneur?
Yes, but you just make it a priority like anything else. That's kind of why my hashtag is Brit of all trades on platforms because I kind of do a little bit of everything. I work full time and, I like to share makeup and skincare that I like and, mom and,
And
mom
what's
running around.
what's the address for that about your skincare and healthcare?
Oh, it's just under it's under, if you look on Instagram or Facebook, you just look under Brit of all trades 9 and you find me. And
Brit
on TikTok.
Brit of all trades.
Yeah, instead of Jack. People are like, why do you call
I
yourself that?
love it.
Because because I feel like I'm always wearing different hats, I just should wear a different hat every day and you know.
Well, will you come back on the show as you get closer to the CD release date and update us about what's happening there with music coming out of the Motor City?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Brittany Madden, ladies and gentlemen, from One Thing More.
Thank you.
So, again. Well, it's time again now for our top 10 book list for fiction and nonfiction. Let's take a look. Well, we certainly appreciate the good folks at Barnes and Noble giving us our top 10 in fiction and nonfiction this week. And I wanted to call your attention to the fact that they've got a 25% off sale for all of their best paperbacks going on right now at Barnes and Noble, up to 25% off. And members get extra reward points and all kinds of great stuff like that. Our good friends at Barnes and Noble Books. Go see them. Well, I wanted to bring to your attention, do you like digital history books or fictional history books? I do. It's one of my favorites. I want to call your attention to this site, digitalhistorybooks.com, just how it sounds, DIGITAL, historybooks.com, plural. And you can sign up for their newsletter, and they give you up to 40 to 60% off all kinds of digital history books, real history or fictional history. It's a weekly newsletter with the best ebook deals in history and historical fiction. And if you're an author, you can get on their list as well. But you can sign up for their newsletter, digitalhistorybooks.com. Kind of a great deal there, huh? Here's one of their books. They're in pre-sale now, Disaster at Kasserine Pass, about World War II. They're at digitalhistorybooks.com. Well, and not to be outdone, how about our friends over there in Musicland? Tom's top 10 music for this week. These are adult contemporary titles from the Billboard Hot 100. Let's take a look. Let's take a listen. Well, each week we take a look at a little commercial spot for one of my books. This one's for all of my books. Check it out and let me know what you think. You can send me a comment at bookinfo@nextstopparadise.com. Here it goes. Hey, I want to thank you again for tuning in this week, your weekly digest of what's happening in books and music from a reader perspective. You join us next week. We got some more great guests for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Tom McAuliffe, you make it a great day.